One of my mother's favorite stories about my childhood had to do with my bare feet, being shirtless in green corduroy overalls and red cowboy boots. It was always a struggle to get me in shoes. I think because most shoes didn't fit my wide little feet very well. I was always taking off my shoes and socks. My first real pair of shoes were those red boots, and there would be nothing touching my feet until I had them. I have memories of walking the railroad tracks in Danville, barefoot, sometimes wearing flip-flops. We used to call flip-flops thongs. The idea of butt floss had yet to be realized. The tracks were a single set of train tracks that ran behind the high school. It was a punctuation mark between commerce and social class. The train came through sporadically. I remember that its one stop was at the feed shop, which was near the newspaper shack. All the boys we knew in junior high had paper routes. We'd go to the shack with the boys after school, smoke joints, and watch them fold and band the newspapers. Then we'd either walk the tracks to our respective neighborhoods or take the streets and creeks home. One afternoon, Billy Krause hopped the train. He made it as far as the old water tower, which was about a mile away, when one of the workers made him get off. That afternoon, Billy was a hero. Some things are worth repeating. We were Stephen King kids long before he was writing about us. The tracks is where we played hooky in high school. We had open campuses then. Once off campus, they couldn't bust you for smoking or other idiocies. We'd get high down at the tracks and then head to the rec center across the street from the high school. The rec was where all the really fucked up kids hung out. We were the mess the summer of love left behind. That mess would later become punk. I was 8 or 9 when I learned how to manage the tracks without shoes. I would walk on a rail like a gymnast on a balance beam. Or I would walk on the ties between the rails. It was basically a gauntlet. Aside from the gravel that supported the tracks, there was a shit ton of broken glass. All of us contributed to it. We smashed pennies and other coins, or would place a plastic model soaked in lighter fluid on the ties between the rails, which would then go up in flames as the train passed over it. There was something almost sacred about these rituals on the tracks. The tracks would eventually be replaced and renamed the Iron Horse Trail. Now gentrifiers ride their bikes or walk their dogs where we once made pagan offerings to a steel and diesel god. Bare feet are feral. And feral is wild, and wild is free. There was a time when social media was a fun sort of free-for-all. Now navigating social media is akin to walking barefoot along railroad tracks. My feet remain free, but my tongue is on parole. Free speech is now hate speech. There is no agreement to disagree. Think only the thoughts triggered or prescribed by your master's algorithms. And remember, community standards don't have time for nuance and humor. One-track thinking. All aboard! I get up too early. Usually to pee and feed the cats and take my medication. The peaceful promise of pre-dawn is broken at 4:30 when the light rail starts buzzing through the neighborhood on its way inland. There was a time when I'd lay back down in bed and listen for the wail of trains at Taylor Yard next to the LA River. The train yard is a couple of miles from my house. The only time I could hear them was during that indigo hour before the sun came up. Melancholy announcements of arrivals and departures. I find comfort in the train's lament. There is a legend in Mexico in the Southwest that is told to encourage good behavior in children. The story varies from region to region. It's about a wailing ghost who roams waterfront areas looking for her drowned children. A few nights ago, I thought I heard a familiar wail as I lay waiting for the day to start. Only Taylor Yard is now a park. I wondered as I lay back in bed if what I was hearing was a lone train, or perhaps La Llorona. Snoring cats lulled me back to sleep where I dreamed of red boots.